Talmud Bavli, Tractate Beitzah, page 40, Daf Mem Amid Aleph, and this is the final Daf, final page of Tractate Beitzah. With the words Mi Shezimein Etzlo Orchim, etc. With regard to one who invited guests to visit him from a town beyond his Shabbat limit, and they join the Shabbat boundaries to enable them to reach his house, they may not carry in their hands back to their town any portions they received from him as gifts. These portions are as the feet of the host, since they belong to him. They belong to him on the eve of the festival. This is true unless he transferred ownership of their portions. Their portions to them on the eve of the festival, in which case the gifts may be carried wherever the recipients may walk. Gemara. The Talmud says, Itmar, it is stated, Amafkid Peros Etzel Chavero, Rav Amar Keragle Mi Shivkidu Lo, Shmuel Amar Keragle Hamafkid. Okay. It is stated that the Amoraim disagreed with regard to one who deposits produce with another for safekeeping, and whose possession is produce with regard to determining its place to rest over the festival. Rav said, they are as the feet of the one with whom they were deposited. And Shmuel said, they are as the feet of the owner. The Gemara suggests, let us say that Rav and Shmuel follow their usual line of reasoning, as we learned in a Mishnah. If one brought in his produce or his ox to another's courtyard, with his permission, the owner of the courtyard is liable for any damage caused to them. And Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said, the homeowner is never liable for damages unless the homeowner explicitly accepts upon himself the responsibility to watch them. And Rav Huna said that Rav said, the halacha is in accordance with the statement of the rabbis who disagreed with Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and that Shmuel said the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. If so, let us say that Rav spoke here in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, with the following reasoning: just as when one gives permission to store something in his yard, that object is under his jurisdiction concerning monetary responsibility, so too it is in his jurisdiction concerning the establishment of the Shabbat limit. And Shmuel spoke here in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. When a homeowner gives permission to store something in his yard, the object is not in his jurisdiction, whether with regard to monetary responsibility or with regard to the Shabbat limit. The Gemara rejects the comparison. Rav could have said to you, I said my statement in this case, even in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. For Yehuda Hanasi stated his halacha only there, that an object brought into a courtyard is not considered in the possession of the homeowner with regard to monetary responsibility, because in the ordinary situation, one who allows someone to bring items into his courtyard does not accept upon himself the responsibility of watching them. But here, the homeowner has accepted upon himself the responsibility of watching the produce, and consequently, it is at his feet. And similarly, Shmuel could have said, I said my statement here even in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, as the rabbis stated their opinion only there, maintaining that the objects are considered in the jurisdiction of the homeowner because it is a person's. In other words, the owner's preference that his ox or other object be established in the jurisdiction of the owner of the courtyard, so that if his ox does damage to the homeowner's property, the owner will not be liable. Here, it is a person's preference. Is it a person's preference for his produce to be in another's jurisdiction with regard to the establishment of its Shabbat limit? It is certainly inconvenient for him to have his produce out of his Shabbat limit. Consequently, the two disputes between Rav and Shmuel are not necessarily connected. The Gemara asks concerning Rav's opinion. We learned in the Mishnah, however, if the owner placed an Erev, the legal status of his produce is like his status. And if you say that deposited produce is as the feet of the one with whom they were deposited, even if the owner of the produce placed an Erev, what of it? The produce is under the jurisdiction of the people in the other town with whom it was deposited. It should be as their feet, not as the feet of the owner. Rav Huna said that the sages of the school of Rav said, in reply to this question, the Mishnah is dealing with a case where the keeper designated a corner of his house for the owner, thereby revealing his intention that the produce not be considered in his own jurisdiction, but rather in that of the owner. Consequently, it remains at the feet of the owner. The Gemara raises another challenge to Rav's opinion. Come and hear a different proof from the Mishnah with regard to one who invited guests to visit him. They may not carry in their hands any portions they may have received back to their town, unless he transferred ownership of their portions to them on the eve of the festival. And if you say that the halacha is that the deposited items are as the feet of the one with whom they were deposited, even if he transferred ownership to them by means of another person taking possession on their behalf, what of it? Okay. Kizik lehem al yedei acher mai have. Hachdami kevan shezik lehem al yedei acher kemishi yichad lo karen. That was done. Okay. The portions are in any event deposited in the house of the host, and they should be at his feet. The Gemara answers, here too, since he transferred ownership to them by means of another person, it is considered as a case of one who designated a corner for him so that the gifts are considered in the jurisdiction of the guests and may be carried wherever they may walk. And if you wish, say V'ibait ema. V'ibait ema. If you wish, say Ibait ema. V'ibait ema. And if you wish, say instead that the entire case of transferring ownership is different because the host's specific intention is to transfer possession of the portions entirely to his guests. This means that the guests have certainly established the place of rest of these portions in their own jurisdiction, and that the portions are as their feet. Rav Chana bar Chanilai Tzalabis Raviv Dredasha Asla Kamil Rav Huna Marlei I atlet zil shekil V'i inhu Telo lach Lo tishkol. That's Aramaic, folks. The Gemara relates Rav Chana bar Chanilai once hung meat on the bar of the door of his house, of his host's house, located outside his own town. He subsequently wondered if he was permitted to take the meat home with him, since he had made an eruv enabling him to walk from his home to his host's home. He came before Rav Huna to ask his opinion. Rav Huna said to him, if you yourself hung the meat, i'at telet. If you yourself hung the meat, go take it, but if your host hung it for you, you may not take it. The Gemara questions this. And if he himself hung the meat, may he indeed take it? Ve'ihu tala mishakil. Ve'ihu tala mishakil. And if he hung the meat, he may indeed take it. But wasn't Rav Huna a student of Rav, and Rav said that when an object is deposited in one's house, it is as the feet of the one with whom it was deposited, which in this case is the host. The Gemara responds, here it is different, as Rav Chana bar Chanilai hung the meat on the bar of the host's door, and in this case is considered similar to a case of one who designed a corner for him. Since he was given a particular spot for the meat, it is considered his in all respects. The Gemara raises a further objection with regard to his incident. Rav Hillel said to Rav Ashi, and if they hung the meat for him, may he indeed not take it? But didn't Shmuel say, an ox of a fattener who fattens oxen in order to sell them for meat is as the feet of all people? In other words, it is as the feet of whoever buys it on the festival. This shows that meat that is likely to be sold is not as the feet of its owner, but rather it follows the buyer, as the intention before the festival is that it be for whoever happens to purchase it. Here too, the intention from the outset was that of Chana would take it over the course of the festival. Furthermore, Ravina said to Rav Ashi, and if the host hung the meat for him, may he indeed not take it? But didn't Rabba Bar Chana say that Rabbi Yochanan says the halakha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Dosa that in a town that has only one shepherd, an animal that will be given to that shepherd over the course of the festival is as the feet of the shepherd, since it is certain that the animal will be transferred to him. Here too, since the meat was put aside for Rav Chana, he should be permitted to take it with him. There is another difficulty. Rav Ashi said to Rav Kahana, and if they hung the meat for him, may he indeed not take it? But didn't we learn in a Mishnah the status of animals and vessels is as the feet of their owner? The same should apply to meat that was hung for him. It should be as his feet. Because of all these questions, the Gemara reinterprets the case of Rav Chana. Rather, the problem with the meat concerns a completely different matter, as the issue under consideration is not the establishment of its place of rest, but the prohibition against eating meat that has been left unobserved, due to the concern that it might have been exchanged for prohibited meat. Rav Chana bar Chanilai is different from the average person, as he is a great man and occupied with his studies. And this is what Rav Huna said to him: if you yourself hung it, in which case you noticed some recognizable mark on the meat, and your attention was not diverted from it, the meat is not forbidden for having been left unobserved, and therefore you may go and take it. However, if the host hung it for you, thereby diverting your attention from it, and they too did not pay careful attention to it after hanging it on your behalf, in that case it is considered meat that has been left unobserved, and you may therefore not take it. And that's the end of that. New Mishnah. Ein mashkim v'shochatin es lamid borios, aval mashkim v'shochatin es habaysos. Elahen baysos, halanos bayir mid barios halanos. Okay. On a festival, one may not water and slaughter desert animals, which graze mainly outside the town, as they are considered muktzah. However, one may water and slaughter domestic animals. The Mishnah elaborates. These are considered domestic animals, those that sleep in the city at night. Desert animals are those that sleep in the pasture and come into town only rarely. I guess, the pasture, isn't it sheep? Cows? I don't know. Okay. Can you have a sheep that's both a desert and a domestic, according to this? Anyway. Okay, that's the Mishnah anyway. The Gemara says, the Talmud says, the Gemara asks, the Mishnah is coming to teach which animals are muktzah, and consequently may not be slaughtered and eaten on the festival. Why then do I need the mission to say one may water and slaughter? What does watering have to do with the topic at hand? The Gemara explains the Tana of the Mishnah teaches us a practical matter, incidentally. That a person should first water his animal and only afterwards slaughter it, due to the adhesion of the skin to the meat when this is not done. If one first waters the animal, it is easier to skin it after slaughtering it. Tanu Rabbanan, the sages taught in Beitzah, which are desert animals and which are domestic ones. Desert animals include all those that go out to pasture at Passover time and graze in the pasture day and night and enter the town again only at the first rainfall at the start of the rainy season. And these are domestic animals, all that go out in the morning and graze outside the town's boundary, but come and sleep within the boundary at night. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says both these and those are considered domestic animals and may be slaughtered on the festival. Rather, these are desert animals that may not be slaughtered on the festival. All those that go out and graze in the pasture and do not enter the settled area, neither in the summer nor in the rainy season. The Gemara asks concerning Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's opinion, and does Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi in general accept the concept of muktzah? But didn't Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, inquire of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi unripe dates that are placed in a basket to ripen until they're edible? What is the halach according to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai? Are they considered muktzah or not? He said in response, there is no recognition of the halacha according to Rabbi Shimon. There is no recognition of the halacha of muktzah according to Rabbi Shimon. Ein muktzah Rabbi Shimon.